Compression, or how much you compress the ball, it's like one of the bigger buzzwords when it comes to golf instruction in general. The reason I'm saying in the title that it's overrated is it's not that it's not worth pursuing, it's not that it's not something that good players don't do. It's that most people I see are doing it when it's not their highest priority. So they're pursuing compression, they're pursuing taking a divot when they have other priorities that would help them play better golf that they should get in order first. And the other factor is that they're usually going about, getting more compression the wrong way. So the methods that they're using are actually more detrimental to their consistency, their ability to hit good shots and play good golf. So let me show you a common scenario that, a lot of people would see numbers like this, and that might lead them to pursue compressing the ball, or maybe they've seen videos about certain numbers and feelings. So they'll hit a shot and they'll kind of look at numbers and they'll go, okay, I've heard you're supposed to really hit down on the ball. My angle of attack there was almost 0, so pretty level. I heard you're supposed to have a lot of shaft lean, 7, 8, 9 degrees of shaft lean. That's only got about 3 degrees of shaft lean. I'm not taking any divots. My contact feels a little bit thin, a little bit in the toe. I've got to get the ball more compressed. That's such a priority for me. Now, most people are not looking at their swing when they do this, but let's just say they got a little bit of help. They saw their swing on video. Maybe they looked at tour players' face on. They went, oh, geez, I don't have a ton of lag here in my wrists. I need to have all that angle there to compress the ball. When I strike the ball, it doesn't look like I have a ton of shaft lean. You get other scenarios where people are also very shallow, very, high dynamic loft. The strike isn't good, and they are hitting the ball erratically. So let's say we go similar sort of compression ratio. But that person, is more of an open face guy. They're really not getting, you can hear it, you're not getting the same compression that they might want. Not hitting down all that much. The loft is high, the strike is thin. That person in particular, the last thing that they should do is prioritize, I need to compress the ball more. What they need to do is work on what on that swing was quite an outside in path, a transition move that opens the club face, an inability to control the face on a consistent basis. That will help them play better golf. So the mistakes I will see people make very commonly, a lot of people will come in, extremely strong grip, but there's a worse component to this. So a strong grip isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I see a lot of people build the grip around a hooded, meaning like de-lofted and shut face just at address. Then they're adding a strong grip to that, which you can imagine if I were to put the face neutral would be even stronger. So they're going about it that way. They're imparting a ton of extra shaft lean at address, thinking that that will help them produce shaft lean at impact. They might play it really far back in their swing. That's a very common one. And a lot of people are really leaning into their forward side. A lot of people have been told, unfortunately, by instructors or by tips on TV, bias your weight, keep your weight over your front foot. That might be one of the worst things you could possibly do. There are certain shots, if you're trying to hit it low, or certain types of wedge shots, sure, throw a little weight in your front foot. Most people are doing it way too much for a stock shot. Try to be nice and even, and we're gonna produce compression later in this video in an efficient way that doesn't require you to bias your setup. And they'll hit a shot like that. I see this all the time. And this person will struggle with certain things. If they're able to manage the face, great. That's not necessarily the case all the time. But let's just say even on a straight shot, they'll be in a launch monitor, they'll go, oh wow, I'm hitting it really far. My 7-iron just went 185. I used to hit it 160 like you saw. Here's the problem. I see people all the time, they have no idea. They're hitting 10 degrees down on the ball. No joke, I see this constantly. I see dynamic lofts on 7-irons under 20 degrees. Crazy, way too low. A peak height that even at high speed is way too low for that player. They're not able to hit the ball the proper height. I hear that all the time. People come in for a fit, they're like, I need my irons to go higher, I need to try different shafts. What do? We look at the delivery and I go, I'll show you what to do, but it's not going to be clubs first. It's going to be swing first. So the first thing I'll say is you have to separate things. If you are a steep player, you are doing this right now, you have to deprioritize angle of attack, taking a divot, deprioritize those things. What do you want first? So what most people should want and need is a repeatable ball flight, that they can put the ball in play off the tee more often, they can put the ball on the green more often, they can shoot lower scores. Hitting down hard and compressing the absolute shit out of the ball, getting unbelievable ball speeds and taking these amazing divots. I know people think it's super important. For an amateur player, even a high level, very skilled plus handicap player, that is a lot lower on the list than you would think. I'm gonna make a swing that for me is pretty comfortable. I'm not going to bias any weight forward. I'm not gonna add extra shaft lean. I am gonna have a fairly neutral grip. Let me hit you a shot. Ball position is just gonna be fairly center. We're not gonna go too far back. Keep everything feeling very neutral. For some people, you may feel to break this habit that you have to be almost leaned away. Just check it on the camera. You'll notice it's not that crazy. You also might find that the shaft lean to you has to look almost straight up and down. Again, check it on the camera. It probably won't look that way. Okay, so I've taken the setup and I've gone, okay, I'm not doing any of that stuff anymore. I'm not biasing it. It is more neutral. It looks normal. I do have that little bit more shallow angle of attack. I am leaving the face open a bit. My ball speed's down. I'm not compressing it. How do I address that? How do I fix that? What's the right way to go about it? Compressing the ball is produced by a little bit of shaft lean and a square, or let's say at least slightly closed face to path, depending on if you're a fade player or a draw player. It does not require enormous shifts in forward, center of pressure and sternum. It basically, for an amateur, would require rotating pretty centered, relatively not moving up and away from the ball too much, not sliding away from it too much, and delivering, again, that square face with the slight shaft lean. What's required to do that? Most people don't understand. It's mostly happening in the wrists at the top of the swing. I have a video from a couple weeks ago called Slice to Draw. It basically addresses most people are opening the face in transition. So for that person, if I see that, that's the first thing we address for compression. They're not compressing it because the face dynamically is open. Sure, they can artificially fix that with all kinds of weird grips and setups, but it's not changing the way their wrists move. So even if that face is dead shut up, they're opening it on the way down. That is a problem. You will become extremely inconsistent. I release the club properly like we discussed, so it's basically a little bit of that twisting motion from the top that slightly flexes the wrist. It slightly rotates the wrist and allows the club, more importantly, to start unwinding. So you want the club to unhinge and unwind. Do not hold on to this. If anything, it just keeps the face open. Do not hold on to your angles. You gotta let them go. And I'm gonna let them go on this one. You'll see, you'll still hit down on the ball, plenty. So I felt like I stayed fairly centered there. Now I'm hitting 4 degrees down on the ball. I'm delivering a little bit more shaft lean. My strike's a little bit less thin. Face management was pretty good. Ball speed comes up a little bit. Ball goes a little bit further at a similar club head speed. So if we look at the setup of that swing, it's pretty neutral. What you'll see in the downswing is we are certainly not holding on to excess wrist angles there. The club is unwinding. There is shaft lean coming in, which we can measure in degrees. It was lower. My sternum is relatively on the ball. It's not like I've shifted it way ahead. I haven't put my head way ahead of the ball. I haven't gone crazy in terms of shifting towards the target. And we're able to release the club pretty comfortably and be stacked and in balance. A way higher ball flight that's not that much shorter than that initial ball that was absolutely mashed at 184. But it's a real effective, usable flight that will stop on the green. If you appreciate our honest, unbiased, no marketing approach, you can help support the channel in a couple of ways. Leave us a super thanks. There's buttons down below, or in the description. You can actually order just about anything golf club or shaft wise through Golf Liberty. So something that I hear a lot, it comes up a lot, is when people initially come in, and a lot of people are this way. Let's say they are steep, they are open face, they are outside in, that kind of thing. They want to change their pull fade or slice into a draw. The drill that we do, that I've described before, where we get the club to start immediately twisting and closing and lowering and approaching from the inside. We get people to hit draws pretty quickly. I will show you. So we've hit a very slight draw there. And then they'll look at the numbers and go, and that wasn't terrible there, but it's only 2 degrees down. And they'll say, oh, Shouldn't I be more like 4 or 5? And sometimes I see people do this drill and they're like 1 degree down or 0. The reality is it's priority list. So what's the first thing you need to address? The steepness of your swing, the dynamic face angle, the bad habits you have with setup. Start there. The fact that you've gotten a little bit shallow temporarily is not going to cause you to play terrible golf. When you're ready and you feel comfortable and you've been producing, let's say you're pursuing a little bit more of that shallow pattern that draws, and it's very consistent for you, and you want to ask your coach, hey, how do I start hitting down on it a little bit more? The way to hit down on it a little bit more is just exactly like we said. We make sure that we are not lifting up and away. We're not sliding excessively, but we don't do it by taking the swing we had that was starting to become very repeatable as a draw or whatever in the shallow and just start trying to hammer down on this thing. You will lose the progress you've made with face control. I'm just going to keep what feels like my chest a little bit more over top of the ball, make sure I'm still very evenly balanced. I'm not going to lean into it. I'm not going to hold on to my wrist angles. So I still hit a slight draw there, but now I'm 4.5 degrees down and even delivering a little bit less loft. So I compress that shot more, not by all of a sudden changing a bunch of setup and swing feels, really just by maintaining a little bit more of that centered rotation, that rotation that doesn't move upwards, simple things like that. Don't look at compressing the ball and taking huge divots as something that is absolutely necessary for low handicap or even plus handicap golf. It simply is not. Pay attention to your priorities, put the ball in play, you'll be a lot happier.